What's up, everybody? It's James here. I've been a huge advocate about being yourself and taking off your mask. However, I just recently realized this morning that I still don't 100% be myself. I still don't 100% take off my mask all the time. And from what I realize about this is that I am happy that I'm being myself more than when I was in high school. However, I can confess I'm not always being myself all the time. I still wear a mask to some degree. And the reason why I'm telling you this is because sometimes it's okay to wear your mask. Sometimes it's okay to not be yourself, even though I'm a huge advocate of being yourself as much as you possibly can. However, there are times where being yourself can be challenging. After all, we live in a society where people want you to act a certain way, and this can spill into jobs in the workforce. And sometimes you have to be a certain way in order to keep your job, for example. So sometimes it's okay to not be yourself, but the overall goal is try to be yourself as much as possible. Look at being yourself and unmasking as actually kind of a spectrum. From one side, you're totally not being yourself in order to act a certain way, in order to fit in a role. Whereas on the right side of the extreme, you're 100% totally being yourself. At every moment of the day, I recommend trying to aim for the rightmost side of the spectrum. Try to aim for being yourself as much as you possibly can. However, don't try to be yourself to the point where you start feeling anxiety. Stop there. Be yourself as much as possible where you feel comfortable with, but when you feel anxiety, stop. Now, right now, you might be thinking, wait, James, you've been saying that you should be yourself, and now you're saying that you can't? Well, I'm not saying to not be yourself. I'm just saying try to be yourself to the point where you feel comfortable. Why am I telling you this? Is because if you try to be yourself to past the point where you feel uncomfortable and you start feeling anxiety, this anxiety can cause problems. It can diminish your performance on doing a specific task. Anxiety will diminish your reaching your fullest potential on doing a specific task like your job. Anxiety will then become a limitation. Furthermore, anxiety will also cause you to feel more exhausted and burned out, the same way when you're masking. For example, let's say you're 100% being yourself and not worrying about what you said, just being you, and then suddenly you said something that you weren't aware that may have not have been appropriate, like at your job. This can cause a lot of anxiety, and all this anxiety can cause more exhaustion and more burnout compared to if you were masking. So obviously, you don't want that to happen. So aim for that rightmost perfection, but don't go to the point where you're feeling anxiety. Stop when you feel anxiety and be yourself to the point where you still feel comfortable. So that's one trick I'm going to do to help me be myself more that I think will be helpful for you too. Another thing I'm going to try to do to help me be myself more is continuing to learn more about myself, continue to learn who I am, get in touch with my soul, do things that I enjoy, do creative things, get out in nature to help me learn more about my deepest ways about who I am. I'm going to continue doing mindfulness meditation where I can be more aware of my thoughts and pay attention to what I'm thinking and what my different feelings are and different desires lead to. That way, that will help me get to know myself more. I'm going to continue doing Artist Way morning pages where I'm going to write 3 pages where I will write down whatever is on my mind in the morning and write down 3 pages as another way to kind of get to know myself more. For many years, we've been taught and unfortunately been taught ways to be ourselves in a different way where we start losing sight of who we really are. And so it takes years to finally rediscover who we really are. We have to unlearn what we've learned. Learning about who we are sometimes takes a bit of learning process because we've been taught to be a certain way and thus become blindsided of who we really are. So it takes time for us to see who we are again. And this can take time, so it's important to be kind to ourselves, not feel ashamed if we can't do it overnight. So this brings me to my next tip. Be kind to yourself, be gentle to yourself. Don't feel ashamed if you can't be yourself immediately. It's not an overnight thing. It takes a process. Another tip that I'm going to do that I think will be helpful to you too is experiment. Hang out with people that you feel comfortable with that won't judge you, that won't give you pushback if you're acting certain different ways. This will provide like an arena where you can test yourself and act in certain ways so you can get to know who you really are more without worrying about negative consequences, such as people ridiculing you and making you feel bad or losing a job. Try to find those unjudgmental people around your area, or even look for them online and socialize online around people where you can just test the grounds, test the waters, and experiment. So that way you can get to know yourself more. I'm personally going to practice this on my future videos. Now, I want to close by saying that not everybody's going to like you. Not everybody's going to like everyone. The important thing is to attract yourself around people that will like you for who you are. And if people judge you, try not to take it personally. I know it can be tough sometimes, especially if you have CPTSD and you've lived your life feeling inadequate due to bullying when you're in school and people not accepting you for who you are. But remember, being you is the best thing you can do, not only for yourself, but this world. Because when you're being yourself, you're inspiring others to be yourself. At the end of the day, none of us should be judged based on how we act in a certain way. It's one thing if we act in certain ways that harm others, but if we act in ways that isn't harmful, we're just being ourselves, but it's considered different to someone else, it shouldn't be something that people should judge. Our uniqueness is something that we should do because that will bring us our joy and inspire others. Because if we're holding ourselves back based on other people not wanting us to be who you are, we're really cutting ourselves short. And really, they're actually being discriminatory. Just like how we should respect race, culture, and gender and sexual orientation, we should also honor the way people act in their personality traits as well. Because if not, that's also being discriminatory. So try to aim for that being yourself perfection as much as you possibly can, because when you do that, you're doing the world a favor. Well, I hope you found this video helpful and inspiring, and thank you for watching. All right, bye-bye. If you liked watching this video, you might also like watching the video The Pros and Cons of Masking in the video link below.